Hi and welcome to the PowerWork YouTube channel. In this video we're going to talk about the Microsoft Fabric AI skill that is currently in preview and why in my opinion it will be big. It will be the next big thing, and I'm going to talk about the benefits of using AI skill, what the risks are currently involved on using AI skill, and how it will work. Thank you very much for tuning in, and please subscribe for more. So let's talk about the Microsoft Fabric AI skill and why it will be big. There are four major benefits when using the Microsoft Fabric AI skill I found. For one, it is easy to implement. Two, it gives you instant value. Three, it is highly accessible. And four, it's a fully grounded AI RAG-like agent. In terms of being easy to implement, I found that it is a software as a service solution, so you can deploy it with one click, meaning that you don't have to consider infrastructure deployment costs or resources, and you don't have to worry about training and building a search index with other Azure AI Foundry-like solutions. It integrates seamlessly with data sources from the Lakehouse SQL endpoint, warehouse, Power BI semantic model, and also the query language databases. That means that it can query in SQL, in DAX, and in query language. The Fabric AI skill is basically a natural language model with a knowledge base that directly queries your Microsoft Fabric data sources. It gives you instant value because there's no technical skill needed in setting the thing up and in querying any of the questions that you have. Decision makers and analysts, for example, can bypass the need to build Power BI models to answer any kind of questions and worry about the time it takes to develop a Power BI report, to model the data, but to also visualize and make sense of it and go through the entire CI/CD pipeline when deploying reports. So what the decision makers get? They get data-driven answers quite instantly. Why does this change the game a little bit? Well, currently, if the decision makers have a question, they need to go to the analysts or the developers and wait for them to develop and confirm and validate the data that they have. So what's also great about the AI skill is that you get proof when querying the data. You get proof of how the data was retrieved, showing you a retrieval path. So basically, kind of like someone showing how their work was done, giving you the steps of the work to get to the solution. So if you're kind of savvy with SQL, DAX, or query language, then you can instantly understand what the AI skill is doing and how it retrieved that answer that it gave you. In terms of accessibility, non-experts, so data democratization is high, can foster data-driven cultures in the business. So your organization will get easily access to data-driven solutions and be able to answer data using natural language query, making it highly accessible. You don't need to understand complex visualizations, DAX, and in theory, you don't really need to understand programming languages. What do I mean by it's fully grounded? Well, because it is primarily based on the knowledge base that you give it, such as the Lakehouse SQL endpoint, the delta tables that are linked to it, the semantic model, or the query language database, it uses that as a sole source of data, making it grounded as much as possible. And therefore, it is less likely to hallucinate. Let's get to the risk of using the AI skill. Well, there are a few risks. For example, you could get incorrect responses if it is not trained well. That may be, for example, ambiguous queries, not understanding relationships between tables. So it becomes important, which brings us to point 3, of training the AI skill. Properly train it, give it clear instructions of what to do when certain kind of questions are asked, and ensure that they understand the context and the query logic when giving you answers. You can also upload sample SQL queries with the expected result to train the model and give it some hints on what to do at what certain kind of questions. SQL docs and custom query language proficiency is recommended for validating the data. As I mentioned earlier, the AI skill shows you how it retrieved the data and it shows you the path, but you should be able to understand it to validate that the data you have is actually correctly queried. However, the same as with a Power BI report, you don't necessarily do that. But unlike the Power BI report, not a developer made sure that you get the correct answer, but the AI skill generated a query to give you the response. Therefore, validation becomes more important, basically understanding what it's doing. The other limitation is that you cannot change the large language model that is running behind the AI skill at the moment. So how does this actually work? Well, the 5 major steps that you should take is to first train the AI model. Give it some instructions of what to do and what kind of scenarios that are asked in natural language. Give it some sample queries, for example in SQL. You can upload a JSON file with the expected result and the kind of query that is given, to give it a guide on how to answer questions and what kind of queries to use. Then you want to test the model, kind of like in a loop. You ask natural language questions, you validate them. If they are wrong, you go back to training the AI skill until you find that it's giving you correctly validated responses. You can then combine data sources. We can use semantic models, we can use different kinds of tables from different lakehouses and so on. So that is really cool, but to make sure that the AI skill understands the context, you have to give it good instructions and sample SQL queries on how to relate the data and combine it. There is no data modeling in the AI skill, so importance of making it understand the semantics behind the tables is high. Then you publish the AI skill, and the end users can ask natural languages, can use natural language to ask the AI skill any kinds of questions using a simple chat interface. This is what the AI skill currently looks like. You have an interface, you create an item called the AI skill that you can see on the left-hand pane. And then here we have an example of a lakehouse SQL endpoint with different kinds of tables that are selected. On the right hand side, you can see how you can train it. You can put SQL sample queries to give it a kind of help in what kind of questions to answer and what kind of SQL scenarios. And on the top left, you can see that there are AI instructions that you can add. There are a lot of characters you can add to the AI instructions. So the more detailed you are, the better it understands and the better it will respond. At the bottom, you get the query box and you can ask your question in natural language and you will get a response. So all in all, I think the AI skill will be huge. Why do I think that? Because currently many decision makers need to get ad hoc answers to questions about their data. Data is growing immensely, and building reports constantly to answer simple ad hoc questions is tedious and takes time, and the continuous usage of the report is not guaranteed. So for a short period of time where questions need to be answered, you can do that using the AI skill. Furthermore, the AI skill is now conversational. That means that the user can ask follow-up questions on their initial question to get more in-depth responses or change their question to get different kinds of answers if they need it. So this is a very big, powerful thing. Currently, large language models are being used for all kinds of questions, but they generally hallucinate and they're not based or grounded on a simple knowledge base. They're usually a combination of the trained large language model and a knowledge base that has some search index to kind of make sense of the data. But we don't have to do all of this work. We can integrate this large language model, RAG-like agent and Microsoft Fabric, and naturally ask questions in our language without any big effort. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think about the AI skill, whether you think it will be the next big thing. And make sure to subscribe to the channel to get more free content.